up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Gen Report. I'm your host, Pablo, and joining me, as always, is Mr. Brian Schultz. Brian, we finally got a glimpse of the show that we have been waiting for quite some time, did not know what was going on. There seemed to be no real news coming out, and we finally got some images, Brian. What did you think after first seeing those shots?
It almost didn't matter. I got to be honest. That Batman the Animated Series holds such a hallowed position in my life and sort of my memory of growing up with this genre that just to see that we had a date, August 1st, just to see that we had some images, even if, we'll talk about it. They definitely have tweaked a few things. I just get the clip of Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds from the Deadpool trailer. Let's go. That's it. I don't need to be hooked on this show. I'm there already. They need to get new generation fans. I get that. But like any of us who watched the animated series in the 90s, we're going to be there on August 1st. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with it. We have some quotes here about the development, why they changed some of the look. But yeah, I'm totally open to however this is going to be. It's in great hands, obviously, with Bruce Timm and Ed Brubaker and those guys. So I'm just excited we are finally ready to drop this. And, it's going to come less than 3 months after we wrap up this amazing run of X-Men 97. So, fantastic.
One thing, Brian, that's going to be obviously most people are going to be thinking about this: the voice. Who's playing Batman?
Batman himself is the big question for this show because of the shadow of Kevin Conroy. And I think actually you see it visually, he looks different. He looks a little younger. I don't know if that's the right way to describe him, but he does look a little smaller and more athletic than the kind of the blocky design of the animated series. But the fact that Kevin Conroy was not able to voice his part in this before he passed away, I think is going to make Batman probably the character that you most have questions about going in, because it's just going to sound a little different. And I know we had other Batman in the DC movies. I know they've done that. But the aesthetic of this is definitely unique. And I think it will be interesting to see kind of, do they try to have Batman sound like the Batman we're used to? Do they try to have him sound? Because I don't think they've actually said, have they?
We would have heard. All we knew was that the Cape Crusader animation, but we didn't hear any casting.
I don't think they've said who's voicing. Like, I don't even think they've said, like, is Mark Hamill coming back as a Joker? Like, I don't know that. I assume he is, but I don't think they've said for sure.
Would you want him back?
Sure. I think for that aesthetic of the Joker and the way the Joker acts, I think it'd be a little jarring not to have him.
I'm looking at the shot where Bruce Wayne is in a suit,
where he looks a little smaller, right? He's kind of like, his shoulders are not as wide. He just looks like a little younger Batman.
Yes,
that was my reaction. The younger Batman,
like a 28, 29-year-old.
It's not R. Patz's suit, but it's closer to like his age.
Yeah,
and build, because the Bruce in the 90s show is big. Like he's
huge. He's
basically he's as big as Clark Kent physically in terms of how he's drawn.
Your thoughts on, Brian, the take that they're going to be having with Harley Quinn?
On the changing the ethnicity of Harley Quinn?
Yeah, it seems like they're doing that.
She's Asian. She's Asian now.
Yes. And she's a little bit more, I guess, sinister.
Batman obviously was created in the 1930s by Bob Kane. And so the 90s animated show deliberately chose a 30s aesthetic. So that's why the cars are all old. And so what's interesting about this is Tim said they're setting this one in the 40s, which means, so again, you got to like reprogram your mind. No internet, no cell phone.
Yes.
Like that will change the crime fighting and like how the story is written. But that's just something you have to get ready for. And they're deliberately telling you this is still a period piece close to the origins of Batman. And that's something that Bruce Timm said he always wanted to do, like in full.
Is this sort of like a Bob Kane take?
Yes. So that's why the designs, apart from Batman, are designed to be what they call Golden Age DC. That's why they're drawn that way. It's not an accident. They did say, so in terms of representation, what they've changed, Jeffrey Wright started something. Commissioner Gordon is now an African-American man, and Harley Quinn is Asian. And Tim said that was obviously by design to put some representation in the show, but also he said he wanted to make sure that it was a companion but distinct from the animated series. So this is a little different than X-Men 97. This is not a direct continuity of that show. It's the spirit of that show, but a different show.
Funny that you bring up Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey Wright made comments about Jim Gordon's ethnicity being not an issue, obviously, back then, but certainly why Jim Gordon not be an African American in these modern times, right? In the 30s, yes, in the 30s, probably not. This is based in the 40s, correct?
Yeah, so that's going to be controversial, and I'm sure that will probably be part of the story. So here's the quote on Harley Quinn, which is interesting. So they've changed also what Harley Quinn, the backstory. Instead of being the whimsical sidekick to the Joker, Tim claims she will use her professional training and effectively weaponize her psychiatry because she's a regular psychiatrist, not just an employee at Arkham.
So it's going to be very interesting to listen to the sort of dialogue that she has with people. This is going to be a very interesting show because of the lack of tech. The lack of tech that we would normally see and how he uses it here.
Yes. So now here's his quote on Batman. And this is why I think Batman is the biggest question mark in this series. Because remember early on, I don't know if they're going to go full TVMA, but they are going darker. This is supposed to be more adult than the original series. And he says, quote, Batman will be portrayed as a really weird human being who thinks of himself as the Dark Knight all the time and sometimes has trouble wearing a person suit and trying to pretend to be something that he's not. Additional quote, we try to wipe out the foregone conclusion that he's a hero. That is very different than the Conroy interpretation of Bruce, who was always, especially when he was out of costume, a very sort of genial, gentle, friendly guy.
Yeah.
This guy sounds a lot closer to Arpats, to be quite honest.
But from that shot, it doesn't look like it. It will be
No,
but
the idea of like he thinks he's Batman more so than Bruce, like that.
That to me, that's not surprising, Brian, because I remember that episode, Batman Beyond. In my mind, I don't call myself that. Terry McGinnis looks at Batman. What do you call yourself? Bruce Wayne looks at him. We know what he calls himself. He's Batman. That's his name. That's who he is. So that's not surprising, but it'll be interesting to see this version of that portrayal, I guess, right?
Yeah, so I think that setup certainly leads you to a darker place for the psychological sort of exploration of Bruce Wayne and Batman's duality. And obviously, it sounds like they're trying to set up more serious villains. They're trying, Harley Quinn is not supposed to be this sort of comic relief sidekick to the Joker. So I think, listen, I'm there for all of it, and obviously, Amazon I think is going to be a big winner to be able to host this on their service.
But that's what Dave is. I'm telling you,
that's
man.
That's desperation.
$100 billion. I'm telling you, is coming, man. And people, when they see me out in the streets, if y'all say, "Hey, Nerd, buy me a drink," because I predicted it. Nobody was talking about this, and I predicted it. It hasn't happened yet, but these are the telltale signs of someone testing the waters. That's all it is. I'm interested in the dialogue here. All that stuff, all the action sequence, that's going to be the extra stuff. That's going to be icing on the cake. But the dialogue here, Brian, is going to be very interesting, being that this is a little bit more adult oriented. What would it be to listen to a Batman who is not confined to having to speak a certain way for kids?
Yeah, I'm also interested with how serialized this is. The animated series, a lot of the episodes were self-contained. They did an occasional two-parter, but a lot of it was just those 30 minutes, like the whole story was wrapped up. And this one definitely sounds like it's not that. This one sounds like it's more like X-Men 97 or more like some of these shows where you're playing out an entire season to build an arc toward something or a cliffhanger. that's an adjustment for this show, and so I'm interested to see like how they use that to establish characters and work on them.
This is seemingly pretty much a Batman, only that is a Batman series that, but it's not live action. Or what I've wanted is a Batman live action series that dives into all these things of Batman. But we have to live with this, and I'm fine with that.
I agree. I can't wait, and I think it has the potential to be great.
How did Jim Gordon get this job? That's going to be very interesting.
Again, I can't believe they're just going to do that and ask people to accept it in a 1940s piece. It
So
has to be part of the story.
if they address it, it'll be interesting how he, you know what I'm saying? So it's going to be very interesting.
The timing, I like the timing too because it's like it's August. That's a light part of the movie summer is pretty dead at that point. So you
Y'all
get
better have a 2-part.
Oh, they haven't said that. They haven't said what they're doing in terms of their schedule. I don't think they're dropping the whole thing at once, but we'll see. So we get to focus on that. But then don't forget, we also get the Penguin on Max. It's in, I believe, October. Okay. So you figure if this is 2 months worth of television, that'll take you. Now, these are not connected, but I'm just saying from a Batman standpoint, you get animated Batman, then you get Penguin kind of right after that live action. I think that's interesting. I think, especially because you know that Pattinson's kind of at least cameoing in that Penguin series. Man, I hope all the stuff going on with WB's cash issues doesn't deprive us of the Batman Part 2 on time in 2026. But
I don't know how we're gonna do it, Brian, in terms of talking about each episode of the Batman, Cape Crusader, because that to me is like the Shangri-La of episodes for me. To sit every week and talk about Batman, sheesh. I cannot wait. Let us know in the comment section below what you guys thought of the first look Cape Crusader Batman animated show. How it looks. How does it feel? That voice. Are you going to be able to get over it? Because it won't be Kevin Conroy, right? I liked the Batman Final Frontier Batman. Remember Final Frontier Batman?
yeah, that's an older guy. Isn't that Jeremy Sisto that did that?
Yes. If you guys don't know, look it up on YouTube. Is a scene where Batman discovers who Martian Manhunter is. He discovers what Martian Manhunter is by saying this to him. I have a 25,000 whatever, $70,000 meteorite to deal with the other one. For you, all I need is a penny and a book of matches. You see Martian, because Martian Manhunter at this point, he's disguised as a human.
Yeah.
So when he says that, his eyes just widen as Batman just bounces. And it's like, those are Batman's, that's stuff that Batman says, yo. And he did a fantastic job playing that voicing that character. But let's see, man. That's one of the big things. I think that's gonna be one of the big headlines of this show when it first comes out, Brian.
Yeah.
It has a lot to live up to.
Yeah.
It has a hell of a lot to live up to and a bar to not necessarily surpass, Brian, but be different. And if it could surpass it, Brian, the better for us, I guess.
Yeah, and I think X-Men 97 has raised that bar.
Certainly.
Same era, right? Same era original that has now been successfully updated, and we still got an episode to go, but you could argue has been surpassed by the modern version. So we'll see.
Get that Emmy ready for X-Men 97. Let us know in the comment section below what you guys think, and we'll see you next time on the Nerd Report.